Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and we're going to be looking at the week of April 24th through the 30th. This is a very interesting week for a lot of people, and this is not going to be like heavy in the transits, but more internal processing for a lot of people. But to even understand what we're processing, what's going on this week, we have to kind of revisit what has just occurred. Now, I'm going to reference a couple of the videos that I've done. One, I did an eclipse video. Two, I did a Mercury retrograde video. And three, I want to take us back to April 15th through 17th. So not the week that we're coming out of, but like the week right before the eclipse. Because boy howdy. As we got through the 15th, the 16th, and 17th, and I remember the 15th really well because I did a business trip. I actually went and met with some of my clients in person in Texas. Like I have a whole group of them that they all know each other and everything else. And when I go down there, like I always do in-person sessions, but then I also like we do stuff like we socialize. So we make it like a happy mix for everybody. And what's funny is Saturday evening, we were sitting there. We had just placed our order at the restaurant, but I hadn't got our food yet. And it was right around that time that the moon went from Virgo. I'm sorry, not Virgo. It went from Aquarius to Pisces. Not even kidding. It went from Aquarius to Pisces. And I swear, whenever you're sitting there, like you just felt all of the energy go. Everybody got a little tired. Everybody finally kind of felt like a little weight. Everybody was kind of like hitting a wall. And we hadn't even had our food yet. So it's not like it was a food coma. It was just like it was right before. So then once everybody got their dinner and the food come up fully set in, it was just like, we're done. Like one or two people still try to like go out and do things, but like there was a whole group of us and we all just kind of went, and I'm done. And people went home and it was only like 5 o'clock in the evening. I'm not even kidding you. But literally the whole room, you could just see that whew, hit. It's like a buoy in water. You just like hit that energy. The thing is, whenever the moon went into Pisces, the moon went into the sign of like deep depth emotions. And it started to stir things up. Whenever it made that conjunction to Saturn, Saturn was in a square to Venus. A lot of things, past experiences, past situations, little things started to come back up. Little things got said, little things were triggered. Now, depending on if it was just triggering the energy in general or planting a seed in some ways, like just saying those little things that allow for things to shift and change later. But there was a lot of deep, deep seated, deep level, deep emotions that were getting stirred, that were getting talked about. And they were meant to start to come to the surface. And it was in between that moon and Pisces transit and the eclipse that a lot of things got stirred. And once we got into that eclipse, and I did an eclipse video that was specific to like everybody's ascendant and sort of talking about that new moon eclipse and all those other transits at the same time and the layered effect of what it could, what it was meant to play out for by ascendant. So there's a whole different video to go check out. When that all occurred, it took a lot of things to a bit of a boiling point. Now, not everybody hit a boiling point. Some of us did, some of us didn't. Some of us seen the other actions or interactions of other people just like hitting a high point and people just going off on the internet, going off on TikTok, going off in real life, in person, at an event or something like that. But it really kind of hit a boiling point with that eclipse energy. Now, we're in eclipse season. And now, immediately following that eclipse, we started a Mercury retrograde. And many of us are kind of in that, I'm going to say a hangover effect from the Mercury retrograde, because as soon as it hit, for a lot of people, it was mental exhaustion. The moon hit that conjunction to Mercury right after the moon perfected and transited away. Mercury hit that turning point. And for some of us, we made a decision. We made decisions to turn away from somebody, to turn away from a situation, to not deal with somebody. Like that was very, very much a trigger. For others, it was just like, I'm pooped. I'm exhausted. But remember, when Mercury turned retrograde, it was re-entering a sextile from Mars. So for some of us, the week prior was bringing things to a different head. There's a general energy from the weekend going into Monday that some of us are just not seeing eye to eye with somebody. We're not understanding them. We're not understanding the situation. We're not understanding what has been talked about, or we're not able to see how something can progress forward anymore with a person, with that person in our life, with that person in the energy, with that situation. We can't live in that place no more. Like, you know what? I just know this isn't ever going to work. I have to move. Or if you've been somewhere temporarily, like staying with family, it's like, you know what? I can't hide forever. I've got to go home. And there's something from the weekend that leads into Monday. Now, the other thing about Monday going into Tuesday, and I'm going to start with this because this isn't the direct transit, and that is we have the contra antitia between Saturn and Jupiter. What that means is that if we fold the chart at the equinox line right here, the spring equinox line, mathematically, this actually perfects on Tuesday, but we're feeling it on Monday. Saturn is going to be in a contra antitia to Jupiter. What that means is that mathematically, the two numbers will equal 30 whenever we fold that equinox line. This will actually be exact Tuesday morning, but we're feeling the build up to this on Monday. Now, what else is going on Monday? Well, if Saturn is entering a contra antitia to Jupiter, telling us that it is time for hopeful actions, and I will recap that more at the end of this weekly transit video. There are certain hopeful actions that need to be taken. What is a symbol of action? The sun. What is the sun doing on the 24th? What is the sun doing on Monday? It is entering its conjunction to the North Node. This again is something else that builds up over the weekend that actually arrives and perfects on Monday. The sun will make a conjunction to the North Node, the head of the dragon. Something that we desire, things that we are feeling fated towards or destined towards. There's something that we feel very much that we need to take action towards, but we can't take that action just yet. We feel the need for this action. We feel that we need to do something, but there's a haziness. There's a confusion. There's something that hasn't become clear quite yet. And that is heavily emphasized by the fact that Mercury is retrograde, but the moon in Mercury's sign is in a square from Neptune. And after this square perfects, the moon goes void. So Monday, not everybody's going to understand. Not everybody's going to be on the same page. It's kind of a fuck it Monday. It really is. There's going to be some of us that we're seeing somebody saying, I absolutely have to do this. I feel like it's time. I need to do this. I need to do this right now. I need to call that person. I need to go somewhere. I'm just going to show up and ask them if they're hiring. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to do it. And everybody else is just kind of going, you're going to what? Because there's going to be areas that don't make sense with the moon's square from Neptune. There is going to be areas that not everybody is going to understand, that not everybody is going to be on the same page as us as we are dealing with that sun conjunction to the North Node. The North Node is a very ego-driven symbol. The sun is the ego. So we are going to be very much consumed in something, feeling the need to do something, feeling the need to go somewhere. Depending on where this is at in your chart, you could be the confused one. For some people, like this is in my 7th house, and I've already been seeing this kind of build up with a lot of people. I know that the consumption thing is going to be me watching a lot more of the other people because I'm super in tune with this South Node right now. So it's watching other people like come together, have something come to the surface, have something like we want to announce. And the announcement is met with confusion. It is met with the, huh? What are you doing? Where? What? Oh, why? Why? It's a part of the energy. Others are going to be like, you do you, boo. And then as soon as you're out the door, be like, I don't know what's going to happen next. We're going to have to just see. It's going to be crazy. You're just going to show up at her job and you ain't talked to her in 2 years. That's a bad idea. No, but you want to do it. Okay. Like there's going to be some that make just huge leaps of faith with that sun in North Node. But not everybody is going to be able to make it that day. More people are going to be able to take leaps of faith and action later in the week. But the inkling is here because the confused parties around you are going to be like, let's talk about this. Let's really sit down and talk about this because I don't know if we're all on the same page right now. I'm a little confused. Let's see if we can get this figured out. Confusion can be a big part of Monday. Not being easily understood, not being completely clear, feeling highly motivated to go back somewhere, to go do something in a certain way, but not necessarily making complete sense. It'll take a few days for everybody to get on the same page. Some people won't even be on the same page until after whatever we are feeling drawn to do is done. And that'll more likely happen after eclipse season. But there is this energy of trying to get something going. The note that came through, and I actually put a big circle around this, that came through my meditation is, there is a method to my madness, but there's a madness you have to deal with. The madness isn't going to be there. Understand that the method to the madness has a result in mind and be more focused on the goals, so to speak, than the process. We have to be flexible in our process. The goal is where we need to be fixed. If this day, the person that you're talking to, if they're more fixated on the goal and but you can get them to not just react and not try to do something real egotistical, then part of it will be just kind of like getting them clear on how to move forward. Others, it's just going to be like, where's the popcorn? Where's the popcorn? Because I'm just going to watch how this unfolds. So it really kind of depends on where this is at in your chart. Now, the initial confusion energy, if we're able to keep somebody from making the full leap of doom, some people it's a leap of faith, other people might be a leap of doom. If we can get them to not just react to that, what can happen is that we'll be able to have a whole different emotional level of conversation. Now, I say that because we're going to have a day of confusion, the moon squaring Neptune and then going void. So confusion continues throughout the day, not being able to get things going, not being able to get things to jive until we get till about 2:00 in the afternoon. Like it's going to be like you have that afternoon cup of coffee, that afternoon Red Bull, that afternoon Mountain Dew, whatever it is for you. And then when the moon goes into Cancer, we can kind of feel like we can function again, but we also start to feel the weight again. And again, weight, it's just like the weightedness. We feel those emotions set in. We feel certain things start to come through. Now, I want to take this to Tuesday morning. We can get to a point that overnight, Monday into Tuesday, we're very much in our feels, very much in our emotions, and we're thinking about recent situations, recent conversations, recent actions. If you did the leap of doom and it didn't go your way, we are stuck in our emotions. If you took a leap of faith and it didn't go horribly wrong, then it's having those emotional conversations and trying to understand on a surface level, the surface level of our emotions, why things went the way they did, why decisions had to go that way, why the direction had to go that way before. But as we get deeper into the moon going into Cancer and we have this overnight area, what's going to happen is just after midnight, the moon will enter a trine from Saturn while Saturn is sextiling the North Node, trining the South Node. Therefore, the moon will sextile the North Node and trine the South Node. There is a time to this energy. There's something that kind of clicks. Now, at the same time, that this is going on. Remember, we have that contra antisha energy coming together. We have this moment of it's time for hopeful actions. It's time for abundant actions. The actions that we're taking having prosperous results, seeing just how much we've put hard work into something and how that can turn around. And again, I'm going to recap that Jupiter energy whenever I get to the end of this video. So I want to get through parts of this week before I really get into what this feels like it's going to mean this week. So we have this, and it goes exact, literally, this is 7:15 a.m. Central Time. So Oklahoma time, right here. The moon hitting that trine from Saturn says there's depth, there's experience, there's longevity, there's a deep focus that needs to be dealt with on a surface level. And the thing about the 25th is that we have this trine that happens in the morning, but then by the night, by the evening, the overnight time span, that moon is going to make a conjunction to Mars. Now, I'm going to move this by hour here in just a little bit. The sun is separating from the north node, but the sun is still very much feeling Rahu's energy and feeling very consumed by something. The sun is also still in its sextile to Saturn. We get this for a few days. The other thing that is going on is the fact that we have Mercury finally off the 15-degree mark. That's where he's been since before the eclipse. We've had this area of our mind that's just been spinning and stirring on one subject, one event, one trip, one decision, one finale, one moment, one thing that has just been spinning in our minds. The minute we go on autopilot mode, we're not doing anything, just sitting there scrolling, thumb scrolling through, or you're watching television. And we should be mentally shutting down, but instead, in the back of our mind, we have that thing, that decision, this moment, this situation that just keeps coming back to the surface, and we can't quit thinking about it. When we get to the 25th, I feel like a lot of this logical thing here is going to hit a bit of a boiling point for a lot of people. So let me bump this by hour. So I'm moving the wheel for the people that get salty with me. You got to just kind of go with me. There's a method to the madness. That's actually a normal saying for me, by the way. Completely normal. All right. So this goes exact roughly around 10 o'clock my time. Here's the moon, 16 degrees, 24 minutes. Here's Mars at 16 degrees, 20. Like, I'm just a few minutes off. How close enough for government work. Anyways, so what do we have here? We have Saturn and the sun still in a sextile. It is time for a shift in our ego, a time for a shift in certain things that we feel empowered to do. We feel impressed that we must do, like we're impressing a certain thing on other people, like we want something, desiring something in our egos to go a certain way, that we feel boastful enough to take certain actions. That's still the part of the energy, but the actions haven't occurred yet because we still have to get to the emotions. Remember that part. And here we get to a peak in the emotions. Now, the reason I'm saying that this is a peak is because Mars is the host of both eclipses, both of them. Mars and the moon are making a conjunction. You need the sun and you need the moon to have an eclipse. The moon rules our emotions. We're getting closer to the quarter moon. That quarter moon is going to happen whenever the moon goes into Leo. We're not that far off. This is going to be a bit of a boiling point for a lot of people. Something coming together, something being understood, something coming to the surface, something being tousled, being roughed, being argued about, being yelled about. Something here, we hit a high point in the emotions. I wouldn't normally say that, but I'm looking at the fact that Mars, since going into Cancer, has been ruffling a lot of feathers and has been shaking a lot of the surface level emotions. For some of us, we've been using this very purposefully, and we've been taking certain actions with it. We've been using, actionable nourishing. So we're doing more in our routine. I built a garden. Like we're doing something that allows for, growth and nurturing. So we've taken certain actions, but the thing is, I can't build garden beds 24 hours a day. I could try, but at some point I want to go to sleep. So there's other things that are being brought, stirred, shaken, scratched to the surface. Now, in the last few weeks since Mars has went into Cancer, if you know somebody or if you've been the person that every little thing is a trigger, oh, I don't like that. I don't like that you posted that. And you comment on everything. You're shaking on everything. You're, exploding emotionally on every level based off anything that goes on. You don't want to be around this person that day. Not at all. Because something is really going to, they're the ones that I feel like this is a boiling point. For a lot of people, I feel like it's more like a geyser. Like we're going to be on the surface and then that one thing's going to get said and then poof, trigger. Like, oh, well, that's interesting. Why did you react that way? I don't know. But it comes out. There is a geyser like energy with the moon's conjunction to Mars. For some people, this is going to be, trying to understand the disruption, trying to understand the chaos, trying to understand why Joe has been a dick. I'm going to throw Joe under the bus again. I don't know why I keep going to Joe. I'm going to blame Mercury's retrograde because I don't usually have a name, but lately it's always been Joe. And something needs to be understood, but I don't feel like it's all going to be about understanding. I feel like this is a boiling point energy where we get to a moment where everybody is yelling, even though we don't even know what we're yelling about. And for some people, that's going to come out on Tuesday. For others, it's going to hit a wall on Wednesday. This is so late in the evening. Not everybody's up at 10:15. If you do the overnight working, so if you are the overnight nurse, if you work in service overnight, if you work in the bar, you work at the restaurant, you're working at someplace that keeps you out, this can literally be just watching everybody hit that point, hit that bubble, have that explosion, that geyser moment. And it's just like, oh, wasn't expecting that. I'm going to go this way. If that happens, understand that there is the need for healing certain actions following the conjunction. Now, we're building to something when this conjunction happens, and that is a square from Chiron. It's not exact yet. Chiron is at 17 degrees in 2 minutes. Mars again is at 16 degrees in 20 minutes. Their square is not exact yet. It's going to occur over these next few days. But Chiron is in the superior position. We need to heal something. We need to go over something. We need to check something, a wellness check. Check the stitches. Check for infection. Check something. Emotionally check somebody. Pull your head out of your ass type of energy. And the next few days that follow this geyser moment, this isn't the boiling point. This is a geyser because a lot of people are just going to just go and nobody's going to expect it. Geyser. Whatever has been popping off, whatever explodes, whatever arguments, whatever tension, whatever frustration, whatever you're feeling that hasn't finally, been able to be processed yet, I feel like we get to the point of processing. And then what's going to follow as Mars hits that exact square to Chiron over these next few days is the need to heal. Heal in our actions, heal the surface wounds, take action to rectify a situation, rectify the past, get over a wound, get over an argument, get over the fight. This can also be that coming together decision to make a move, to take certain actions. You can't necessarily take an immediate action, but there is something here in this moment. For others, for some, it's going to be the geyser. For others, it's going to be, let's have a critical understanding of why. And it really comes down to where we are in the energy. And what logically needs to come together is like people need to understand the past things that are coming up, those past situations, those little things that keep coming to the surface. You go outside and you see somebody wearing a jersey that has a name on it that that name is tied to somebody else, and you just keep seeing that exact same trigger. That exact same thing over and over again. You keep getting notifications on your phone, and you see the same variations of somebody's name coming through in every single post. You're just like, you watch the TV and every actor has the exact same name, and you're like, yeah, don't by the way, if the name is Chris, don't watch the Marvel movies, because all the Marvel stars for a long time, they were all named Chris. So it's kind of that. It's just like everybody has that name. Everybody has something that takes you back to that moment. And we're feeling those little triggers coming back through because they're pushing us towards something. They're pushing us towards certain actions, or they're pushing somebody else towards the actions that are necessary to bring them back to us. It depends on what's being triggered. And if you're desiring somebody but that hasn't been a part of the triggers, that they're probably not the ones that's coming back. Whatever is being triggered is purposeful right now. It's necessary right now. Okay. Now, we need to start a healing process. We need to start overcoming something that is going to continue with the Chiron Mars square. Now, I'm going to bump this by hour to get us to Wednesday morning. The moon will still be in Cancer, and the moon is going to hit a sextile from Uranus overnight, which for some people, this is going to be like, you can't sleep, so you stay up late and you listen to like the most profound TED talk. You know that the best way to get over something is going to be like, okay, we need to mentally shut off. We need to mentally shift. We need to do something to like get over this moment. How about this weekend? Let's go out. Let's take a trip. Let's go somewhere. We don't have anything booked. I don't really care. Let's make it a road trip and just wing it. Like, there's something here where we take like an excitable decision. Now, for others, this is going to be two people in that geyser moment and arguing, but then the next morning we say something completely stupid and everybody laughs. Like, you're an idiot. Why would you say that? I don't know. Like, are you done being pissy? Maybe. Why? Because I got an idea. Oh, well, I'm listening. I don't know if I'm going to agree yet, but I'm listening. Like, it's that. It's like trying to find the sudden work through and the sudden break and allowing for something else to come through. Now, the other thing that's going to occur, and this actually happens later in the day, is that the moon is going to enter a square from Jupiter. So I'm moving the wheel by hour. For the people that get salty with me, I apologize. Anyways, here's the moon. And what's going to happen is it's going to hit a square from Jupiter and a trine from Neptune. I like Jupiter impressing a square on the moon right here, especially after having that geyser moment, because there's an offer of emotional release. There's an offer of hope in the actions. This also speaks to like what I was saying before with the moon's sextile to Uranus, is like there's something exciting. There's something restorative, not the big picture, like everything's going to be sunshine and rainbow restorative, but it's going to be like you're out of the funk. The geyser's gone. And we're starting to feel that transition, and we're starting to feel a little bit more hope, emotional restoration. There can even be a level of nostalgia as we've got this Neptune energy. So for some of us, it's just like, we can't go out of town, but we can at least go to dinner. Let's go to our favorite restaurant. Well, we never go to that restaurant unless it's like an event. For me, this is hibachi. I love hibachi as a way to like celebrate something. Just like, I want to go to hibachi. Let's go to hibachi. Like, we never go to hibachi. We're not celebrating anything. Like, no. We're just celebrating life. Okay. And you go to that place that you go to frequently that kind of brings up those happy memories. We have that moment of nostalgia in the hope that's being restored. We take certain actionable steps that allow for a bit of peace, a little joy, that allows us to cut through the fog and cut through the tension and cut through that frustration and just allows us to be in the moment. So I like this energy on Wednesday. Oh, actionable changes. It's time for actionable changes. I'm going to keep saying that for a while, just FYI. All right, I'm going to get us over now to the 27th, to Thursday. And the moon is going to go into Leo. Now, overnight, it is overnight from Wednesday into Thursday, the moon goes into Leo. And the first thing that the moon does is hit this opposition to Pluto right here. Here's Pluto way earlier. So it feels like after we have that actionable hope, the restorative thing that allows for us to kind of like break out of the funk, break out of the confusion, break out of the routine, just that little, that it leads us to something else the next day. And part of the action in breaking out of the funk and getting out of our emotions is going to be making the decision to face something. Now, the sun rules Leo. That's where the moon is now. The sun is just now starting to separate from its conjunction to the North Node. So we are just now starting to feel like parts of the thing that we want and that we've been hoping for and that we're aiming towards, that we can start to move towards it and start to face this fear. Part of the geyser energy that just occurred wasn't necessarily that we were mad at the person that we were arguing with. It was the fact that we feel these deep things coming to the surface, and whoever was nearby, regretfully, they were the casualty. They had to deal with something, but that person is most likely also the one that helped you hit that restorative action of saying, okay, then let's make a change. Let's get this adjusted. Let's get this worked out. Let's get this fixed. And maybe after long enough conversations, we get to a point that where we make the decision that we'll face something. Now, I want to bring this up in specific because it is after the moon makes that opposition to Pluto that we feel the need to do this. But I also want to bring up, it is between now, the 27th, and May 1st, that Pluto is going to turn retrograde. There is something that we need to overcome, some fear, some past trauma, some frustration, something that needs to be reviewed and revised and gone back over, and we need to get clarity. We will not get clarity on everything this week. We get closer clarity. We get more perspective. There's more understanding that's going to occur. However, there is the need to face something. And whenever we have this energy of one, the moon starting in an opposition to Pluto, but then this is 5:15 in the evening. By the time we get to this time, we're hitting the quarter moon. We feel the buildup that we have to get something addressed and that we have to face something. And more, the moon's opposition to Pluto feels like the decision to face something, to deal with something, to overcome something in the days ahead. Not necessarily that we're going to do it on Thursday. We might be doing, we might be doing this more over the weekend. We could be more just be making the decision to break away, to do something different, to go in another direction. That can be a part of this, but I feel like a lot more of the decisions are going to be made before here. And now it's like we've had a hesitancy of not being able to take action, and it feels like action will follow. And it's time for certain actions in a lot of ways. So there can be some high points, there can be some excitement, there can be some tension that comes through as we get through this quarter moon. The fact that this is a quarter moon during eclipse season feels like we're going to feel this one a lot more. And really, even the last one going towards that Libra full moon that we had a month ago, I feel like a lot of us felt that quarter moon also, because that quarter moon it included Mars. So we're feeling a lot of the shifts We're feeling really boastful. We're feeling the need to do this and address something. And it really comes through on this day. The other thing that's going exact is we have that Chiron Mars square. Now, the exact point was in the morning. In this moment, they're separating already. So we have Chiron at 17 degrees and 8 minutes squaring. Chiron is in the superior position, making a square to Mars. And at 5:15 in the evening, it's 17 degrees and 18 minutes. So part of the buildup is also feeling the need to address the wound and address the trauma and address certain things that have come through. So we have Chiron squaring Mars. You need to heal. Chiron. Look, I have one eye because of you. If you don't get over your anger issues, nothing's ever going to go right. That's Chiron telling Mars off. Because if you know the mythology, Chiron only has one eye. He's known as the wounded healer, and he lost his eye because of Mars. So this is Chiron, like in that superior position, going, if you do not work on the process, work on the healing, and work on the trauma, we're never going to get anywhere. And that feeds into this quarter moon. We have to get something done. We feel the need to get something going. We feel the need to take certain actions, but not everybody's ready to take the action because we don't have all of the clarity yet. The clarity will come. So this is Thursday. Now we're going to get into Friday. And not everybody's going to be on the same page on Friday. We start the day with the moon entering a square from Mercury. For some people, this is going to be really easy. The moon square to Mercury, because it's going to be like morning coffee. Like, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going out of town. Really? I'm not. I'm not. I'm just going to sit at home. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to go to the movies. I've got my niece and nephew. I've got the grandkids. I've got the kids. I've got somebody. And it's like, you do you, not in a negative sense. And I'm going to do me. And we'll talk about it at the end of the weekend. Like we'll catch up later. But there is this energy in the mornings of just like people going in two different directions. I know I'm going to get messages this morning because this weekend, this transit weekend that we're going into. So the 28th, 29th, 30th, my Jeeper friends, they're doing a big off-road thing and I'm not going that weekend. So I know I'm going to get the messages Friday morning going, you're coming, right? No, babies, I'm not. It's eclipse season. Mama's busy. Y'all go do your adventure. I'm staying here. I got stuff to do. So this can be as simple as that. Are you coming? Nope, I'm not. For others, it's going to be like, hey, I'm here. We said we were meeting here. I'm here. And then once you're in your destination, once you're in the Airbnb, once you've checked into the hotel, you get the message from somebody else like, no, I'm not coming. I changed my mind. I decided not to do it. I took the wrong flight. Mercury's retrograde. This can really happen. My GPS messed up and I'm 2 hours away. Like there is going to be some part of this, like we didn't get everything on the same page. Not everybody is in the place that they're supposed to be, or not everybody's coming together in the same place. And there can be some frustrations and there can be some tension. To get out of the tension could require a bit of innovation. Oh, you took the wrong flight? Can you get a different flight? Can we loop this over? And we start making calls. We start getting something else. Like, well, if you're 2 hours away and I'm maybe we should meet somewhere else. Maybe we should go in a different direction. Maybe something else. And as the day continues, as the 28th continues, the moon will go from a square to Mercury to a square to Uranus, while Uranus is entering a sextile to Mars. I have an idea. I think I know how to fix something. I think I know what to do. There is an inspiration with Uranus's square to the sun. Now, sometimes when Uranus hits squares to the sun, like we want to break away from everybody. And for some people, that is going to be this. I'm like, that's so great. I'm gone. Deuces. I'm out. People going off-roading. Like Friday is 5:00. I am in the Jeep already packed. I'm gone. By the way, if we do have plans to go somewhere next weekend, have your stuff ready before Saturday morning. Do not wait to do something Saturday morning before that out-of-town trip. Just FYI. For others, this is going to be like, hey, I know we just had like this big blow up and we talked about let's going out of town. Let's literally just like throw a dart at the map, spin something and flip a coin. We'll just book and go. And it's just having that exciting moment, that exciting idea, that sudden urge to let's do this. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's go ahead and do something different. There is something very excitable in the action whenever it comes to the later part of the evening. It's literally like just pick pick the topic out of the hat. This is what we're doing tonight. We're just going to do something unplanned and a surprise. And some of us might even continue to do this all weekend. Let's just do some, take certain actions, take certain steps, and do certain things that are not the norm, that are not the conventional, that we would not normally do. Let's find a way to overcome what just happened so we can be back in a better place. And remember, Chiron is still in that square to Mars. We are still healing from something, but now we have the Uranus energy connecting to Mars, which means that there is a suddenness and a shift and there's some excitement, but there is necessary excitement because this is a sextile. So it's beneficial. Okay. I'm going to get this to Saturday, the 29th. Now, the first part of Saturday, the moon is still going to be in Leo. Okay. We're still going to be feeling our energy. The moon's going to hit a trine to Jupiter. Jupiter's going to be like, yes, do your thing. Go do your thing. Do that trail. Do that obstacle. Go up Little Blue. I'm making total Jeep references right here. Go do that thing. Go to that bounce park. You can totally go kart in your 40s. You should totally wear that outfit. There's something very boastful in the energy Saturday morning of just like, just do it and have a good time. And for the rest of the afternoon, the morning into the afternoon, the moon's going to be in Leo. And that's just going to be the vibe. That trine from Jupiter kind of sets the boastfulness of, yeah, do the thing. And that's where this is. We're doing the thing. There's a lot of doing the thing in this action. And as we do the thing and we go over the trails and we go on that road trip and we do the date and we go paint the kitchen, whatever we're doing, afterwards, the way we start to feel is more grounded. It is more stable. We get a different understanding. And we've all done that before where we've put in some type of work or we've done something, and then afterwards, the way that we feel is not necessarily just happy. There is a happiness to it, of course, but like we just mentally feel better. Like the check out that occurred once we get to the end of the day, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I just broke away from everything. I'm so glad I did this. And considering we have that Uranus Mars sextile going on, even here, there is like, I'm just so glad I did this sporadic action. I took this trip, that I joined in on the fun, that I decided to do this. Like I'm so glad I made the last minute decision to do something different. Because we kind of feel the logical reset. We feel that mental check. We got to check out. Now we can come back in and everything feels less moody, less about the feels and less about the emotions, and more concrete, more logical, more transitional. This is an earth sign, but it's the mutable earth sign. So we go from one element to another in regards to the earth area. So I think of like concrete and the thing of how we make concrete. We have to have the certain elements to begin before we get the new solid. So there's transition here. We go from dirt and ground to concrete patio. There's something transitional in the mind, transitional in our logic, and we have moments of being grounded from this point forward. Now, later in the evening, now that the moon's in Virgo, the moon is going to make an opposition to Saturn. This isn't heavy. This is talking with another person and recalling certain things. Mercury is retrograde. This moon transit through Virgo is very, very pivotal to the eclipse axis, to the eclipse energy, and to the Mercury retrograde energy. This moon in Virgo transit, because it follows all the emotional upset of the moon Mars conjunction in Cancer. And that is important. Again, I got to say this because Mars is hosting those eclipses. So we've hit that geyser moment. We've broken out of the monotony. We've taken unplanned actions, surprise actions. Like we've done something spur of the moment, and it has allowed for us to kind of reset. And we get to either later in the evening on the 29th. Some of us, this is just going to all play out on the 30th. It kind of depends on your time zones, that human effect for you. But for some people, this is late Saturday, but for others, this is really going to play out on Sunday. And that is sharing our experiences from the past, talking to somebody that has more experience, that has done something longer, that can teach you something. Now, if you talk to somebody that just changed their diet in the last few years, I'm going to use myself for an example. I've literally been gluten-free for a year and a half because I learned that gluten was basically like a slow level poison that I was consuming my entire life. That was fun. If you talk to somebody that has known they've had celiac disease since they were a kid, the way that they look at food and the way that they approach cooking is wholly different because that's all they've ever known. That has been their set, their approach. However, with me, I'm still testing everything out. Like I'm like still trying to figure out like food recipes that I'm going to like, which way I'm going to go. I'm still in a learning phase. So whenever I give feedback to certain people about my diet, I'm still in a transitional phase. So my account for cooking without gluten versus somebody that has done it for their entire life, you get two different experience levels. I still look at regular bread and go, oh, I miss bread. But then other people are like, I never had it, so I don't even know what I'm missing. That is a part of this energy. It's talking about our experience, sharing past experiences, how we got to a certain point, and getting more knowledge from somebody else that has done this experience longer, that has done something for a long time, that has more ties to the longevity of something. If this is my Jeepers, then this is like them willing, like, oh yeah, I want to get a lift. I had so much fun. I want to get a lift. I want to get new tires. I want to start modifying my Jeep. And then you start talking to the other Jeepers that have been doing this for a long time going, well, there's going to be some pocketbook issues. And they start to talk about like, you'll want this lift kit. You don't want to get this lift kit. You don't want to get these tires. You don't want to get these rims. They're going to bend easier. They're going to tell you about their experiences as to why certain things are better than you can ever understand by just going onto the internet. If it's a diet related thing, then again, or we're going to run into this moment of wanting to travel somewhere or do something that one allows for us to again reconnect to something or something from the past, from a past experience that is going to change the way we're seeing something, change our perspective. It's going to give fresh knowledge that we weren't expecting. This does not actually have to tie into everything. This can just be a part of the mental break that is meant to come through this weekend. But it feels like having experienced conversations or conversations about new experiences once we get to the end of Saturday, again, going into Sunday. The transit is exact after midnight on Sunday, but we could experience it either way. We can experience it both ways, just to be clear. Okay. Now, the other thing about Sunday, I'm going to bump this by hours to get us into a different part of the day, is this is the last day that Pluto is direct. We're within 24 hours of Pluto turning retrograde. So there is something that we are supposed to understand and something that is meant to come through, some level of knowledge, some level of information that starts to make us shift our mindset in regards to an area of fear or an area from the past or trauma or healing. Chiron and Mars are still in a square that's separating. They're more than a degree apart now, but we're still in that healing energy. Pluto, the planet of trauma, the planet of transformation, is getting to an apex point. We've reached this round of transformation, and now we must go back over where there must be recollection, there must be recalling, there must be an adjustment, there must be something that we face again in some way, but with renewed information, with renewed ways of thinking, with renewed logic, because Pluto is in an air sign. Pluto's in Aquarius. We have this last day of Pluto being direct, and the moon is in Mercury's sign. We're also just a few days away from the Mercury Cazimi. So there is a moment of, again, grounding in our emotions, grounding in what we're talking about, groundment in what we're working on, and grounding in an area where we need to get really clear about something. Now, given that this is happening on Sunday, the other thing that's going to occur is that the moon is going to hit a trine from the sun and from Mercury and from Uranus. So for a lot of people, there's a lot of support to this energy. There's a lot of support to this day. Communicative support, logistical support, commerce level support, because Mercury does have a commerce connection to it. But there is some level of understanding occurring. The sun making a trine to Mercury is like talking about something that we want with somebody else and getting their input, talking about something that we've recently done and how that can impact them. And we have some very interesting understanding. Oh yeah, so-and-so was just in town. You missed them. What? And it makes you go back over those past things. When the moon hits the trine to Mercury, there's going to be a lot of people that feel the need to dig into something from the past, dig into some type of information, dig through the documents. I know I have these repair documents. I know we did this. I know I paid that invoice. I know. And we start digging. We start looking for something. And by the time the moon hits that trine to Uranus, we feel excitement. We feel something come through. We feel the shift and the adjustment. And that is going to happen later in the evening. So let me bump this by evening because I want to get that exact. Yeah. Oh no, that actually happens more overnight. Okay. I was thinking that was happening like literally like 10 or 11. No, it actually starts to go into the first. So that moon trine to Uranus is a part of what carries us into next week. There is a lot of critical thinking, critical understanding, critical conversations, necessary information that's going to come through next weekend. Some of those it's going to be on Sunday. Some of us it's going to be on Saturday. Some of us it's going to be on Monday, especially because there is a key part of the transit that's going to hit Monday and is going to spur us kind of going into the eclipse. There is a very specific level of information that is meant to come through, that is meant to kind of inspire us. And that will be what carries us into Monday. It might be money. Some of y'all might be money, but it's going to carry us into Monday. We feel almost excited to do something as we get into Monday, but there needs to be something that is shared. There's some level of knowledge that is meant to come through over the weekend, something that wasn't expected, something that wasn't what you were looking for, but it's exactly what you needed to know. For a lot of us, it's exactly what we needed to know. Now, I said I was going to recap that contra intuition energy of Saturn and Jupiter at the end of this. So let's talk about that. Saturn is experience, it's authority, it's the decision maker. It can be the government, those Saturnian figures. You know who they are. Like, as soon as you talk to them, as soon as you meet with them, you automatically just look at them and like, you're an authority figure. I don't know what the hell you know everything about, but I know you are definitely like an authority figure or an actionable figure in regards to some topic. You just know as soon as they enter the room, like, you're a boss. That is Saturn's energy, but Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. So there is an emotional adjustment. There is very timely conversations and decisions that are based off very deep-seated emotions. And that energy is making a hidden connection to Jupiter. It is time for these deep-seated emotions to take action. The reason that I said in the Mercury retrograde video that a lot of this energy in this eclipse season is meant to bring people back is because of what Jupiter represents. Jupiter is in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It is the start of the zodiacal year, and it is the sign of the individual. It is the sign of what we want as individuals, of what we make actionable things towards. There have been actions that have been taken, decisions that have been made since May of last year when Jupiter first went into Aries. Quick reminder, Jupiter went to 8 degrees, turned retrograde, went all the way back into Pisces. And I think it's very interesting that basically the entire Mars retrograde, Jupiter was in a whole different sign. And for a lot of us, like that Mars retrograde with Jupiter in Pisces, that was an ego test. That was a test of our commitments and a test of our minds to see if we were committed to the things that we say that we're committed to, or if we're just kind of rolling with the punches and flowing with whatever happens. Some of us go with the flow. That was not go with the flow energy. Some of the things that came through were meant to be tests to see if we're ready for what we say that we want. Now, we're getting more into an action-oriented area because we are in an eclipse axis being ruled by Mars. Actions. Certain actions must be taken. Jupiter, hitting that contra antitia from Saturn, says it's time for those actions. It's time for actions to take shape. Actions in regards to things that we've been working on as individuals. Jupiter has put a lot of people into individual tests, individual side quests, going back to the side quest energy. Some of us had to separate from others to work on something as an individual, to work on an area that was meant to restore hope, restore something, to build something up, to refocus our energies as individuals. And now we're going into an eclipse energy that is combined with a Mercury retrograde, telling us individual actions are coming to a close, and now we must start bringing people back together, bringing energies back together. Certain actions need to occur. Mars ruled eclipses. Mercury retrogrades again. We rethink, we revisit, we revise, we reinvent, repurpose, all of the re's. And we've all been very, very, very triggered in this process. The Mercury retrograde just started, but all of the triggers were hitting before the Mercury retrograde because of the eclipse and because of everything that was building to the eclipse. This is why I said in the beginning of this video, some of the things that have been getting stirred up, they're not new. And a lot of people, that's the energy they felt. Those actions started, those little cuts and triggers of deep things coming to the surface, they started before the eclipse, while Mercury was in shadow, since that Libra full moon, but most specifically, since that moon Pisces transit that occurred right before the eclipse. Much of where we go next, much of the actions that need to move forward, much of the things that as to how we progress are meant to progress us into a very certain direction, to allow for new things to take shape. Certain actions need to follow, and they're going to follow not necessarily this week, but they're going to follow that full moon eclipse, the next eclipse in the Mars signs. And I will do a separate video for that full moon and kind of recap like what follows it, just like I did the new moon video. And if you haven't watched that yet, I mean, that one's going to give you a lot more perspective based off your ascendant. So where your chart starts and how that's feeding through for you. Now, we are needing to overcome certain things. We are needing to recognize certain things. A lot of the trauma that is being brought to the surface is because mentally, this is where things need to be processed. Pluto is now in Aquarius. It's an air sign. It's a logical sign. So much of what needs to be conversated about and it needs to be dealt with, it needs to be communicated, needs to be dealt with on a logical mental level. That is where this week is taking us, is into a logical level. And it's going to allow for certain things to adjust the week following and into the eclipse season, into the rest of eclipse season, the second half of eclipse season. That is in the next week. That is in not the week that I'm reading for right now, but the week that will actually start on May 1st. So between the 29th and the 2nd, clarity, enlightenment, a realization, a breakthrough, landing, arriving. We get somewhere in some way very, very soon. It will not be this week, but we get really close to it this week. We get to a very, very much a better place at the end of this week than the way that we start the week. Because I feel like the energy from the 22nd and the 23rd going into the 24th is a lot of like people popping off at the mouth, people saying things that they don't need to say. And it's going to lead to a lot of deep emotions, again, coming to the surface, shaking things up. People are going to be very, very reactive at the first part of the week. But that reaction, the geyser reaction energy, is meant to lead us, shift us forward. We need to expel. We need to let loose. We need the explosion. We need it. So that way we can finally take certain actions, because so many people, they just bottle it up. They bottle it up and the bottle gets more full and more full, more full. The thing is, this eclipse shook the bottle. I'm going to get so many comments on me making that gesture right there. I know it. There's a boiling point. There's a geyser. There's an explosion to this week that incorporates the ability to finally take actions following. I do not feel like everybody can take the action this week. I feel like a lot of this week is having the mental check and the mental reset so you can refocus that energy to take certain actions later on. They're not going to be this week. Oh, this week is the shakeup. This week is stirring the pot. Stir, stir, stir. More so than anything, it's stirring the pot, and then every once in a while you just hit that ladle and it goes flying out of the pot and it goes all over the wall. And you have to clean pasta sauce for the next 6 months. Okay. Oh, I love and appreciate every single one of you. Again, I always say this because I really didn't start this with any other idea than I just wanted to be able to do this on a more regular basis, because then it would also allow for me to change up how I've done readings. I have been a private reader and a private astrologer for so long that I needed to transition. Transitions are coming. So I've already been taking a few appointments and a few readings. I will be taking more in the coming weeks because I want to kind of change up how I've been doing the readings and be able to offer more services at various pricing for people, as opposed to like 1 or 2 services at the higher price. So I do read the comments. I will respond as I get back to my computer because I don't actually comment on my phone for YouTube stuff. I apologize. I know this can be kind of confusing, but I don't. So I do try to like respond to comments. You can always message me through the Spiritually Bougie Astrology page on Facebook or on Instagram, whichever one you want to go towards. Hit me up with questions, hit me up with concerns. I do sincerely love and appreciate every single one of you. And I will talk to you soon, guys. Bye-bye. And subscribe.